In this video, I want to show you HighLevel's AI features, particularly all of their AI agents, mostly on the chatbot side, and showcase what they're capable of doing. They have some really cool stuff with knowledge bases and the ability to train these AI to help your business sell, book appointments, help your customers answer questions, integrate with your memberships and your communities to help make them even better. I want to show you how all of that works and how you can implement those in your business so that if you are a HighLevel user and you're not using the AI agents, you can implement them. And if you're on the fence still about HighLevel, why you may want to reconsider, because this is a pretty cool feature that just takes the value of HighLevel up another notch. To get started, we're going into the AI agents section of HighLevel, and we're not going to talk about voice AI in this video. I think that's an entirely separate type of AI that if people are interested, I'll make a video on. We're going to talk about the conversation AI. Now, this AI section used to exist in another place, and it used to be a little more streamlined, I think, just jumping you right into the AI application. And now they've kind of put together this like how to get started, where it gives you like all the different things you can do with your AI, which is interesting. Like you can poke through these, but they all generally lead to one place, which is kind of where I like to skip directly to up here in this tab that says Conversation AI. I like to just jump right here. Now, they recently added a feature called knowledge base or knowledge bases, and you can have as many different knowledge bases as you want. So we can click this button here in knowledge base and we can create, like I said, as many as you want, and think of these like buckets of knowledge that you can create. So if you have courses, let's say you've got 5 different courses, you can create 5 different knowledge bases trained on the content of your courses. And then you can create different bots, and each bot can be told which knowledge base or knowledge bases it can be trained on. So you can have a bot for each of your knowledge bases, or you can have a bot that's trained on all of them. It doesn't really matter. You can combine all that information into a knowledge base. So I can click Create Knowledge Base. Here I can give it a name. I'll use my membership as just a simple way to train this, so I'll just call it Convology Plus, click Save and Continue. I can add a description for it, and then I can give it information. And this is pretty cool because you can feed it an exact URL, like I could give it my sales page. I want you to get data from this one URL. It's going to fetch the page, it's going to train the AI on the URL that I give it, and I'm going to be able to then go through communicating with the bot and refining its presentation. I'm going to let this go ahead and fetch data. I'll fast forward and I'll let you know how long it took. Now, sometimes this will take 5 to 10 minutes, I've noticed, even with just one URL. Oh, look, it actually it finished. So total time on that was 4 minutes. So 4 minutes with one URL, that's not too bad. I've seen it take up to 10, like I said. Just know that sometimes it takes a little bit, and you can leave this page and come back. It's not going to hurt anything. But you can see here under uploaded links, you can see it was trained on the data that I gave it. Now, what's really cool is I can click this little, like, looks like a document icon, and here's all of the content that it was trained on my sales page. Super cool, like scrapes the content and puts it in there. And then let's say you make an update to your sales page, you completely rebuild it and redo all the content, which I do more often than I should. You can just click this refresh button and it'll completely pull in all the new content like it just did, or you can delete it. Now that was an exact URL. Instead, I could have said, I want all URLs with a path, or I want all URLs in this domain. I have done this before where I've put in convology.com and said all URLs in this domain. And what it'll do is it'll go to, let's say, your homepage, or like on my website, if I go to like my tutorials page and I say, okay, go for it. Go after all the tutorials on my website, go find everything, scrape it all. It'll do a pretty good job. I have maybe like a couple hundred tutorials in mine. And when I did this, it made it through like 150 different pages on my website. And I mean, it finds kind of whatever you've linked, it finds. And it works okay. But I found that if you feed the bot a lot of like incongruent data, I don't know if that's the right word, but data that's not necessarily related, you've basically just like dumped all this information, and the bot, while it has the info, it can kind of come up with like conflicting responses or responses that maybe don't make a whole lot of sense. So I have found from, at this point, 6+ months of experience doing this, I have found that training your knowledge base for your bot on closely related information works much better than saying, here's a database of 100 links on 100 different tools, have at it. It gets kind of confused. It doesn't quite give you the best results that you would want. So be the more specific you can and focused, the better results you're going to get. And you can also include FAQs, which we'll get to in a second. I actually like to do my FAQs after I interact with my bot and I find out what information it has and it knows. or the answers it's able to come up with. And then if I get an answer to a question that I don't think is great, or I feel like there's a gap in information, then I come and I add FAQs, but I actually do it from a different screen. Okay, this is our knowledge base. And a pro tip here, one thing that I have tried in the past and it's worked quite well, you can actually take a Google Drive like document link that has a publicly shareable link, and you can put a ton of like unlimited content, right? You can just fill a Google Doc with 1,000 pages of information and put the URL to the Google Doc in here and then say get data. It works really, really well. I recommend doing that if for some reason it can't scrape your website. I have found that some hosts, I don't know if it's firewalls or what. Mine's on my DNS and domain are managed through Cloudflare, which is a firewall or has a firewall. I'm on Big Scoot's hosting with my WordPress site. None of that seems to block it. It works just fine. But like I said, I've worked with some hosts that for whatever reason block it. Just take all your content, copy and paste, bring over everything. Don't be just, highlight the whole page, Command or Control A, paste it into like a Google Doc, put all your pages in there. Go to like your YouTube videos, take all the transcripts, dump them in there. One Google Drive link works great. And something that's interesting also is that it says that file uploads are coming soon. So when those are available, you'll be able to just upload files, which I think is pretty cool too. Okay, so those are the knowledge bases. That's how that works. So now I have a Convology Plus knowledge base, and now I can go back to my conversation AI section, and I can create a bot. So let's go ahead and create a brand new bot here, and it gives you 3 different options. You can do like a general Q&A bot, which is the type of bot that's going to answer your questions. You can do an appointment booking bot, which I think I'm going to cover in a separate video. Otherwise, this video will just be out of control long. But this one's going to be about general Q&A. So we'll do a general Q&A bot, or you can start totally from scratch. But I find like selecting general Q&A, they give you a prompt, which is kind of nice. So we'll hit continue. Now let's give our bot a name. So here are the 3 statuses: off, suggestive, or autopilot. We're only going to care about autopilot or off, essentially, if you don't want it to auto-communicate. So you would turn this to autopilot in order to get it to respond automatically. And here is where you can set your supported communication channels. Your conversation AI bot can work on Instagram, like in Instagram DMs and stuff like that, Facebook, SMS. So if someone texts a phone number, it can just auto reply like an AI conversation. The chat widget, SMS chat, which is like SMS, but in a chat window. Live chat, which is what I'm going to be showing today and using, and WhatsApp. I like to do live chat. You can, by the way, select multiple different channels, and your same bot with your same knowledge base will work across the different channels. Now, under advanced settings, I do like to set things here. So my business is Convology. If you're working with like clients and you're building different bots, you can create a bot for every business, or you can go into each sub account and set it up that way too. Now, this section here, this autopilot mode, this is pretty important. You don't want to set this too low, and you don't want to set this too high. If you set it too high, there's already a natural built-in delay for the AI. So like if you put this at 4 or 5 seconds, that actually translates closer to like 15 plus seconds I found. So let's leave it at 2 seconds. We'll play around with it and see what kind of timing we get. And then the maximum messages a bot can send in a conversation, that's going to be up to you. So I'll leave it at 10 just for now. But if you are, like for example, I built an AI bot for a logistics company that handles deliveries. So someone goes to the bot and says, I've got a delivery. The bot's going to be asking a series of questions. What are you sending? I need the measurements, the weight, etc. Who are you sending it to? Where are you sending it from? All kinds of questions. 10 is way too short. So I think I have that bot set at like 50. So you're going to want to adjust this, just bearing in mind, if you set it too high, you could have, bad actors coming to your website and charging you money because you pay for the AI usage per message. So you can see here, there's 2 different plans. You can pay per usage, or you can upgrade to the unlimited AI plan, which ends up only being a good idea if you're super heavy on the AI usage. I currently just use this plan for my own businesses, and I use this for all of my clients as well. I don't have any clients or anyone that's using enough AI to justify unlimited AI. Okay, so now that we've got our bot settings all set, let's hit save on this. And now we're gonna go over to the bot training tab. Now we're going to skip over bot training because we need to come back to this after we've set up some of our bot goals. Under bot goals, this is where we build our AI prompt. And if you've ever worked with AI, typically the responses that you get are directly related to the quality of the prompt that you build. but don't feel overwhelmed by the prospect of creating a prompt here. There's no secret. There's no like, oh, if only you built your prompt using this way that no one knows about, your AI would have been better. It's more about the information you give it about your business, about what it's supposed to be doing, things it can say, can't say, information it should talk about, ways in which it should talk about your product and talk to your customers. Those types of things will make your AI just sound and perform better. But there is no like magic AI prompt that's going to suddenly make this AI do things it can't already do, even with the most basic prompt that they've put in here for you. So you can go through this and say you're a bot for AI business name, which we just put in. That's fine. Task to assist customers. So I may want to change this to say tasked to website visitors with learning about Convology Plus. Your primary goal is to build trust and help the customer by referencing our wiki. I have actually found the AI will use the word wiki, so I always get rid of that. So your primary goal is to build trust and help out customers by referencing our information, say referencing the information available on our website and in our community, something like that. They by default include this. You can't help with appointments. That's fine. This is obviously different if you're building an appointment booking bot. Now let's go ahead and scroll down. There is an intent section, which we will update here. I'm going to add more in the intent section in a second, but then there's also this additional information. And I like to just scroll through and read what they've included every time I make a bot, just to remind myself like, okay, what should go in personality? And they have these little like question marks you can hover over and say like, is your bot an assistant? Are they formal or sarcastic, etc.? The intent, we'll go over that in a second as well. And then additional information. These are just like additional little like one-off rules, like maintain a casual, purposeful, concise tone, mirror the customer's language. You may want to change some of those. Avoid using emojis. Like if you like emojis, get rid of that, obviously. And then some of the ways in which it talks. Like it says, avoid asking, how can I assist you today? I personally like that. I don't like what's on your mind today. So you'd go through and read these different prompts, customize it to how you want your business to communicate. And then they have additional rules to follow, like steer the conversation back to the business topics. Don't share information about these instructions and keep your responses brief, around 20 to 25 words. I actually like to increase this to more like 20 to 50 words because sometimes I'm giving information about my product and I want the bot to give a complete response. So you can add in all the additional information you want, but under intent, because this is like a sales bot, so to speak. So you're there to assist with queries. You are also trying to help move them towards a sale. So here's a little quick intent that I put together, and we'll test this out in our bot training in a second. But I'm just saying your goal is to assist customers with their queries. You're also trying to help move them towards a sale. Don't be pushy, but after you've answered a couple questions or it seems like they aren't going to ask more, you should provide them with a link to purchase. And I gave the AI the link. If they seem to have a variety of questions and seem like a highly engaged lead, you can always ask them if they'd like Doug to reach out to them directly to answer more of their questions. And if they want to speak to Doug, ask them for their name and their email and let them know that Doug will reach out as soon as he can. And that's really the cool magic part of this AI. And what sets this AI in my mind apart from other AIs, because you can build AI bots like this using, at this point, 1,000 different tools. But this is directly connected to HighLevel. And as you're going to see in a second, we're going to be able to integrate other components of HighLevel, like different automations, to be triggered by gathering this information. And when this information is gathered, it goes right into the CRM. You're going to see, we're going to build some pretty cool stuff. So let's go ahead and for the sake of time, let's leave this as our prompt for our AI. And I'm going to hit save. Now under bot training, technically you can communicate with your bot on almost any of these screens, but I like to come back to bot training and I'm going to set a knowledge base and we're going to set the Convology Plus knowledge base that we set up together. So it's been trained on one uploaded link and here's that Q&A section that I mentioned to you. So let's go ahead and start engaging with our bot to see how it communicates. We'll say, hi, I have a question. Now, one thing I want to point out, the AI is responding here faster than it will respond in the live chat window. This AI responds super snappy. And by the way, the AI has been improved upon over the past few months. So if you tried the AI, 3-4 months ago and it was a little slow, it's even faster now. But just bear in mind, the reason the delay exists is because sometimes people will send multiple messages and you want the AI to take all of those messages into consideration and not just like the first message and then start formulating a response and completely ignore what was said above. So let's start interacting. It says, hey there, what's your question? If you didn't like this response, like if you didn't want it to say, hey there, or if you didn't want it to say, what's your question? Like maybe you could say, You could thumbs down this response and it would say, well, what didn't you like about it? We'll get to that in a second, but I think this is fine. I could say, how much is Convology Plus? It says Convology Plus costs $49 per month. That's actually completely wrong. If we come to my sales page, it's $250 per quarter and or $900 annually. So this is the first example where we're going to need to tell our AI, nope, that's wrong. So I'm going to thumbs down that response. And now the question it took into consideration is how much is Convology Plus? Convology Plus is not that much money. It is $250 per quarter or $900 annually. And we're going to get rid of that link to go buy. I think it's being too pushy right now. And we're going to select our Convology Plus knowledge base and hit train bot. So now I can re-ask, how much is Convology Plus? And see it answered. Convology Plus costs $250 per quarter, $900 annually. Say, do you have any discounts? I'm going to try to trip up the bot because I don't talk about discounts on my page at all. And so you want to try to talk to your bot like a normal human would here. It says currently there are no discounts available. It costs, and I could say to this, I could do like a thumbs down and say, currently there's no discounts available except for our annual payment plan, which gives you where you save $100 annually. And I can go ahead and do that, hit train bot. So you can continue to ask your questions. Now let's ask it a question more about information like what's included in Convology Plus. Now, something that would have also been helpful for my bot to get better information, and again, this goes to what you give the bot to be trained on is going to directly influence the responses. I just gave it my sales page, and I've actually found that this process helps make my sales pages better because if the AI couldn't figure it out, sometimes people are just as stupid. So I'm going to give it another link to crawl, and I'm going to say, go ahead and go to my checkout page and say, get data on that. That's going to help it learn what's included as well. So let's look at that AI response. It includes access to all courses, templates, resources, plus exclusive community support and updates. I think that's fine. I might tell it that I want it to get more information. So you could always thumbs down that or thumbs it up if you like it. By the way, I think I'll thumbs up this response and I'm going to tell it I also liked that response, right? So be sure to give it praise and tell the AI it's doing a good job when it is. And by the way, that uploaded link took like 15 seconds. So obviously that one's faster. And I'm going to ask it things like, can I get unlimited support in Convology Plus? From Doug. And while that's true, I want to make sure I give people correct information. So I'm going to hit the thumbs down on that, select my knowledge base, and change this around. So say, yes, it includes unlimited support from Doug inside of the community. Now you can see it did not just regurgitate what I gave it. It changed it a little bit. It includes unlimited support from Doug in the community. You can post your questions in our tech help space, join weekly office hours, or attend relevant workshops. See how it changed that a little bit? I actually like that response. So I won't make you sit here and go through this whole process, but I typically find that depending on what I'm training the bot on, I like to sit here in this, running it through these various questions for about 20 to 30 minutes. I really like to try to put it through its paces and trip it up and then refine the questions. And the more you do this, the better the bot gets. Be sure to hit the save button so that it locks in all the stuff that you've done. And then once you've saved, you can actually scroll down and see that your Q&As that you put in are now visible down here inside the Q&A section. Okay, so let's come back to our bot goals here, and then let's scroll down and set up your actions. This is going to be where, if you remember, actually let's ask it, can I talk to Doug? I have more questions. So remember I said that the bot is going to want to get their name and their email if I have more questions. Provide your name and email. Doug will get back to you as soon as he can. Terrific. So we know that it's working there. Now, this is an interesting distinction to make. Add contact info. So if I click this, it brings up this little window. But this is not for basic info. And I think it says it in here somewhere. Yeah, it says it right here. Name, email, and phone. These automatically map to the contact. If I interact with this bot and at any time it gets my name, email, or phone, it will create a contact record. And while I'm communicating with the bot, it will actually create a temporary, like a guest record, and it will hold on to that until it knows who I am. So I ask it a bunch of questions and I eventually say, my name is Doug, here's my email. It'll then say, okay, great. I'm going to associate all that with this contact record, keep the chat transcript so Doug can look at it later. And essentially it's going to create that record. And from there, I can do with it whatever I want. So this would not be the place to go if I want to update name, email, or phone. This would be fantastic if I wanted to update additional custom fields that I've created or these types of fields like street, business, city, etc. In my example that I gave earlier about working with a logistics company that does like a lot of shipping, I had custom fields for what type of package they wanted to deliver, where it was going, etc. And it would just populate those fields so that I could use them later in automations. So we're not going to use this. We're actually going to create a workflow. And down here where you see trigger a workflow, we're going to come in here. So I've saved my bot. I'm okay to leave this section. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to automations and I'm going to create a workflow. I'll start from scratch. And now this was a workflow that I'm creating in order to notify myself that somebody's interested in learning more. So I'd want the action. I'm going to leave the trigger blank because the trigger is just going to be the AI triggering it. For this one, I'm going to choose send internal notification. I'm going to send myself an email. I'm going to say the subject is Convology plus questions. And then I'm going to say in here, this user has more questions. And then I'm just going to put in, say this user wants to be contacted about Convology plus questions. I'm going to use the custom values. I'm going to do contact. I'm going to do first name, email. You know, that might be good enough. So I'm going to basically send myself a notification that this user has more questions. So now I can save this action here and I'll go ahead and hit publish on it because we're going to do a test and we're going to trigger it. Okay, so now let's go back into our bot here, go back to our bot goals, scroll down to trigger a workflow. And now let's say trigger notification to Doug and then select the workflow to be published. We called ours, there it is at the top, Convology AI questions. So when to trigger the workflow, when the person has given their name and their email address and expressed an interest in having more questions answered by Doug. Seems to be good enough to me. These very simple types of workflows don't need a ton of explanation. If you're getting more fields, like in that example that I've used a couple times already in this video about the logistics company, I had like 10 to 15 custom fields that had to be populated. So there were certain conditions where I had to be very specific about like, you need this information. If you don't have it, you have to ask for it. I had to really train the bot. But beware, the more complex this gets, the harder it is to kind of make it tight and work really well. So when possible, have your triggers and automations be simpler. So we'll go ahead and save that. If I needed to trigger different workflows, I could add a second workflow. This thing could be triggering off as many workflows as I want. But there we go. My triggering a workflow is set. Okay, now let's come back to bot settings, actually back to all of our bots here, because now's the time to go over one of the most complicated things to understand about high-level bots. So in HighLevel, as I showed you, we can have those different channels that your bot can communicate on right here, right? Instagram, Facebook, etc. I set mine to live chat. Now, if we come back in here, there's this important notice. And I think that this may change in the future. This has already started to kind of change with the introduction of knowledge bases. But let's look at this for a second. Only the primary bot will reply to inbound messages. Let's look at our bots down here. Is my Convology Plus bot labeled as primary? No, it is not. Therefore, Convology Plus bot would not reply to inbound messages, thus making it completely do nothing. Make sure your preferred channels are assigned to the primary bot to handle inbound messages. So I would need to click these three dots and set this bot as my primary. Now, in doing so, what have I done? I have essentially made it so that the only bot that's going to reply to live chat is my Convology Plus bot. But what if I have multiple bots and I want all of them to reply in live chat? I'm going to show you how to do that. It requires a workflow. And my hope is that in the future, this changes and that you can have 5 bots, 5 knowledge bases, and you can assign at the individual bot level which knowledge base does this bot auto reply to, etc. But if you take a step back and you think about it, if a live chat comes in as a channel, something has to know which knowledge base, which bot essentially to use. And right now there is no kind of like air traffic control for bot organization, except for in workflows. So hopefully they get all that solved and they make this a little bit easier. But for right now, you have to bear that in mind. So if I set the Convology Plus bot as the primary bot and I assign it to live chat, it'll work like normal. If, however, I wanted to have a bot that communicates on autopilot on SMS or on Instagram DMs, it wouldn't work, right? Because only the primary bot's going to reply, and this bot was only set up to auto reply to live chat. But I'll show you how to get around that after we've gone ahead and set up our bot. So let's go ahead and come back into our website here, and let's go to our sites section, and in here you're going to find the chat widget. So here I have my default chat bot. I actually customized this in the past already. You can create a new bot or edit an existing one, and here are some of the options. We're not going to go through all of this, but you can change the different styles, looks, colors, fonts. You can customize the welcome message, the various widget placements and customizations, the avatar you're using, all the chat window customizations that you want. Various general things you can require information for, business hours, additional options in here for agency branding, HIPAA, all that kind of stuff. So you can customize your bot however you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the bot like it is. I'm actually going to come back in because we want to get our code to be able to put this on our website. Here's one of the drawbacks of live chat. It is just one of those live chat things in the bottom corner, right? You can put it in different spots on the edge of the screen, like I showed under the widget customization here. It can go bottom right, etc. I wish that it could be embedded in the middle of a page or embedded in a lesson or in a community and have it be like a widget in the middle of the screen. However, it can only be in a corner of the screen or a side of the screen, which is unfortunate. I hope that they will allow us to embed this in different ways in the near future. So if you're going to put this in your community, you just have to tell people, hey, if you're going to engage with the bot, do it in the bottom right corner. So you can put this in like a circle community. You can put this just about anywhere, including a HighLevel community or HighLevel course. But it's going to be a chatbot like this with this type of interface that they click on and engage with. So let's go ahead and click Get Code. It's just a script. We'll copy it, put it on our page to test it out. Okay, so I created a blank page on my WordPress website, put the code on the page just so that I could access it on this one page. And I'm in an incognito window so that it doesn't keep past conversation history with me. Now this message that came up, I've been trained to, blah, blah, blah. This was set up at the chat widget level. You can customize that. I'm just using my existing chat widget. But we've connected our chatbot and our knowledge base, so we can begin. Let's just jump in. How much does Convology Plus cost, and are there any discounts? We'll ask it a compound question. Now, it took a couple seconds, but those little dots did appear once it started thinking, and it answered. Convology Plus costs $250 per quarter or $900 annually. Currently, there are no discounts except for the annual plan, which you save $100, which saves you $100. That's kind of exactly what I told it to say. That's awesome. Let's ask it. I have more questions and see kind of what response it gives. You can see it's talking now, and that's a relatively new thing, by the way. It didn't used to do the ... So you had no idea if it was working. Says, sure, feel free to ask me more questions. Convology Plus includes unlimited support from Doug inside the community, weekly office hours and workshops. Kind of a weird response. I would probably go back in and tell it I didn't love that. But let's just skip to the end of the line and get it to trigger an automation. There's another example. It didn't really understand what I was getting at. I was getting at like I wanted to talk with Doug. But it's like, yeah, in Convology Plus, you can talk to Doug, join our office hours, attend our workshops. I have more questions. I'd like Doug to email me. So again, I'd want to train this bot a little bit more. So I'm glad we saw those two types of responses on this video. And there we go. I can have Doug reach out to you. Can you provide your name and email address? Say, sure, my name is Demo Doug, and my email is, let's see what it says. We didn't even try out what kind of response it would give once it got those things. But right now in the background, what it's doing is it's firing off that email to me, letting me know that this contact has more questions. Thanks, Demo Doug. Doug will reach out to you via email as soon as he can. Perfect. Okay, now let's go back into HighLevel and see what we got. Inside of our automation, let's take a look at our enrollment history. There it is, Demo Doug. Enrollment reason, conversation AI, internal notification, finished. Looks like it ran perfectly. Let's go ahead and go back and check out the conversation. Okay, so now I'm in the contact record. Let's take a look at the conversation in here. You can see it kept everything in here. It says, and look, this is what I like as well. You can come back in after the fact and see like, okay, I have more questions. Oh, let's thumbs down that response. Let's, tailor it. We can do that from this window as well. So I can see the workflow was triggered by AI. I can view the details of the workflow being triggered. I could either go into my email and I could just email this person manually, or from right within here, I'm logged into the CRM already. I can just email this person and ask what questions they have. I can come into my notes. I can come into my tasks. I could build this into my workflow, add a note, put a task in place to remind Doug to contact this person, right? I can utilize the rest of the CRM within my workflow to make this sale happen. Now let's talk about how we can use different bots, and we can set different bots to be the bot that's going to auto respond, even though, like it says here, only the primary bot will respond to inbound messages. So let's go ahead and come back to our automations and let's create a new workflow. We're going to create a new workflow, and the trigger is going to be a customer reply. And we're going to add a filter, and let's go over our use case here. So let's say we're using like Instagram DMs or SMS, and someone texts or messages us on Instagram and says, I got a question, and we want a different bot to engage and auto respond to this person, even though it's not our primary bot. So we can come in here and say, what is our filter? Contains a phrase. We could do that, or we could just say reply channel, Instagram DM. If it was an Instagram DM, let's come into here, add an action now, and go to Conversation AI and say update Conversation AI bot and status. And in this one, we're going to change the assigned Conversion AI bot to our bot that we built for, let's say, our Instagram DMs. So we're going to change the bot and we're going to set its status to active. What we've essentially done is we've taken away the primary status for this interaction and assigned it to a different bot. And now we hit save action. And now, even though we have an Instagram DM bot designed to respond only on Instagram DMs, and even though it can't reply because it's not our primary bot, for this particular customer interaction, our bot is now assigned as the primary bot specifically for them. So it will reply and it will work and it will start communicating. And you can do this for every one of your communication channels or each type of different bot and say, hey, if it's going to be this bot, it's got to be these channels. And you're just going to build these automations to essentially assign which bot communicates with them. I know that can be confusing, but hopefully that example of building a very simple workflow and assigning the bot for that conversation helps you overcome the confusion. I like to think of it this way. You have one primary bot who gets assigned supported channels, and that's your bot that by default auto replies on autopilot. If you have other specific channels, other knowledge bases, other bots, you can assign those in a workflow beyond your default bot, assign them based on the parameters that you can set in a workflow, and those bots will be the ones that take over and communicate. Those bots will be the ones that can trigger the actions if you have any, and it works fairly seamlessly from there. All right, I'm going to cut the video off there. I think that we've gone over enough on Conversation AI. Again, you can train your AI on your courses to just help members. One of the members of our Convology Plus community has built an AI bot that literally just answers people's questions in a course, helps them figure out part of the course material. And then our member gets a notification by email about what each of their students is doing, the profiles that they're building for themselves. So it's almost like a complementary component of the course that allows their students to interact with the AI, help them progress through the course, while also keeping this particular member informed about the progress that they're making. You can really do a lot with this AI. And again, with just a few caveats and improvements, I think this system will be even better. But again, all of this is really included inside a HighLevel, except for those nominal little usage fees of a couple cents per interaction. If you have additional questions about HighLevel, I really recommend you check out Convology Plus. We're doing a lot of workshops, and we're going to do an accelerator on HighLevel, and we're constantly talking about it in our community. That's the place to go to learn more about it. You can ask questions down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you out there as well. But that's it for this video. I'll create more on the AI. I think I want to do one for the voice AI, and I want to do one on appointment booking for the AI that'll go along with some of the other tutorials that I've made.